I mean, it was such a good show, and we had these incredible writers: Judd Apatow, Paul Feig, Mike White, great directors on there, and everybody was so well cast.
So well.
The whole cast has gone on to do incredible things, and I just did not see it at the time. It was like my first real thing.
Yeah.
I had done like 2 guest stars before that on like Pacific Blue, which was like Baywatch on bicycles, and like this thing called The Profiler, and so it was my first thing. I just assumed like everything is just going to be that great.
It was a good experience, was it?
It was great. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but I met, the guy that I would probably, that I would go on to collaborate with for decades with, Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
And, one of my closest friends. I did not think that would happen either. But I look at that, and I'm looking at that sweater, and I know nobody else is looking at that. That was like I was so into Matt Dillon's early performances. I loved Outsiders, Drugstore Cowboy. Drugstore Cowboy, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Sorry, I mixed it up with Midnight Cowboy. Anyway, or even Over the Edge, his first thing. Like, and so I was like, oh, I want him to wear my character to wear these sweaters, and like Judd did not like it, and then it started this thing where it was like, it was like with the Freaks, Seth and Jason and I would always be like, well, in the writers' room, it's all geeks. They don't understand the Freaks.
Oh.
And like it became a big thing, and he didn't want me to wear those sweaters and all this stuff. Anyway, you're not interested in that.
Who influenced? I am actually, because who influenced you the most then? Who shaped your career the most from that experience?
From the Freaks and Geeks?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, Seth and Judd. Again, if you had asked me that, I wouldn't think about it. And I've been listening to a lot of. I just listened to Judd Apatow's interview with Mark Maron on WTF, and it's interesting because they're both like comedy nerds, right? And they just grew up. They talk about like growing up watching just comedy constantly, and that was their thing. Like some kids have sports, whatever, and I was like, well, what did I geek out on? And I guess, I was really trained in a way where I looked at Montgomery Clift, Marlon Brando, and James Dean. Coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, like that's strangely what Tommy Wiseau was looking at, like Brando and James Dean. Like the composer just told me, like before his first meeting with Tommy was like, "Gosh, watch Streetcar Named Desire because that's the movie that I made."
Wow.
And so those were my early influences. But then I did this show at a very formative time in my both my life and my career. I was like 21 when I did it. I guess they say your brain's still developing and everything. And so there was something about, even though I didn't grow up as a comedy nerd, that got into me. The comedy side got into me. And after this show, was canceled, sadly, I was actually, weirdly, it's weird to admit, but like at the time when it got canceled, everybody was devastated. I remember, going to the office to get my stuff and running into like Jake Kasdan, the director of the pilot and multiple episodes, and I mean, he looked like he was gonna cry. He was so devastated, and secretly, I was like, yes, because I didn't know how good I had it. I stupidly didn't know, like, no, it does not always line up like this. Hardly ever does it line up like it did. But I didn't know, and I thought, oh yeah, now my movie career will start. And then I went and did like a VH1 TV movie. Like,
but you did pretty quickly off that get the Spider-Man role.
Yeah, not long. It picked up not long after. Yeah. But I had to, I went.
I
and
guess
did
at that age it seems like a long time when it's.
I did a VH1 day, and I did this movie called Deuces Wild that like Scorsese was actually an executive producer on and took his name off because he hated it so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was, I remember being on the set of Juice is Wild thinking, wow, Freaks and Geeks would be really great right now.
Yeah, yeah.